So in this video, we are going to look at everything related to cycle computers. Now, whether you are in the market for a new cycle computer, or you already own a cycle computer, or you're just curious, there will be something in this video for you. Now, as with all my videos, I like to have the conclusions up front and be as precise as possible. I've also added timestamps so you can jump to the part of the video that best suits you. I think that's enough intro and formalities. Let's jump into the details. Does the average cyclist need an advanced cycle computer? Potentially not. Can you use your smartphone instead of a cycle computer? The answer to that is up to a point, yes, but I have a whole section on that later on in this video. Are expensive cycle computers packed full of features that you potentially won't use? Yes. Will a cycle computer help you improve? Yes, it will. What cycle computer is right for you? That is what we are going to establish in this video. So how do cycle computers work? Well, they actually do quite a few things. They report your real-time data, such as heart rate, cadence, speed, power, and they report that back to the device so you can see it real time. They use GPS and navigation to allow you to navigate along a specific route. Now, not all of them do this, bear that in mind. The main differences in navigation is whether or not it has a map view and also whether or not it has turn-by-turn navigation. Now, they provide that real-time data in front of you, as well as other information, time of day, temperature, and other information that you may want when you're out on the bike. Cycle computers also connect to apps like Strava or Garmin Connect, and that way you can upload your rides directly to one of those platforms and keep track of all the rides that you've been doing. Now, that is a very brief overview. Let's get more in depth. You have wired and wireless cycle computers. Now, cheaper cycle computers are the wired ones, and this requires a wire to go from the actual unit down to maybe your front fork where it's going to read from a sensor. Now, this is quite old school, and to be honest, I would avoid, because newer cycle computers that are wireless are very affordable as well. Now, the newer wireless cycle computers are just going to connect to your sensors automatically, and they can also connect to your phone automatically and send data to those platforms like Strava and Garmin Connect that we mentioned earlier. So overall, wireless is better than wired. Now, I want to talk about on the bike metrics that can be recorded, because these are things that are going to help you improve your riding, help you understand what your body is doing and what you're doing on the bike. So you can record things such as, and I need my list for this because there's a lot of them: current speed, maximum speed, average speed, elapsed time, move time, current time, everything related to cadence, everything related to power, everything related to heart rate, including heart rate zones, calories, segment results, everything related to ascending and descending, trip distance, odometer, clock, temperature, maps and routing. The list goes on. So basically, you can record anything and everything with your cycle computer. Now, not only can they record all that data, they can also record that data for a very long time. So a note on battery life. Now, battery life of cycle computers is super high when compared to something like a smartphone. Smartphones that are using GPS and have the screen on constantly, that is going to wear your battery down super quick. Now, when you compare that to a GPS, I have a few statistics here. The Wahoo Roam has a claimed 16-hour battery life, the Garmin 800 a 15-hour battery life, and a Garmin 1030 Plus a whopping 20 hours battery life. Now, obviously, this is going to depend on how far you actually ride, but the more you improve, the further you ride, the more you need a better battery life. You are more likely to drain your energy stores and stop riding than you are to drain the battery on one of these new devices. Now, here is the million-dollar question: how much do cycle computers cost? Now, they can range from anything from £8 to £500. Now, the features I've spoken about up until this point, they are going to affect how much you're going to pay for your cycle computer. And as like all consumer things, the brand also affects the price. But here are a few examples for you. Okay, so here I have a £8 computer that is from Decathlon. Now, this is super basic. It's a wired computer. As we mentioned earlier, that means it needs a wire going down your frame. Now, this computer can measure very basic stuff, such as current, average speed, average distance, and time. So with an £8 computer, you can just get that information. Now, if that's all you want to see, get an £8 computer. Perfect, job done. But we're going to look at some more and see what you get as you spend more money. Okay, so here we have the Cat Eye Quick which is £45. A little bit of a jump, but what we have with this is current, average, maximum speed, trip distance, total distance, move time and clock. We have some additional features: analog wireless, we have easy to read inverted LCD, auto start and stop, menu screen to change settings. So there's a couple of other things. Also a programmable odometer. So the more you pay, the more you can start to monitor. Now obviously no maps with both of these two. You cannot navigate with both of these cheap computers. They're just going to tell you very basic information. Okay, so next up we have the Wahoo Element Bolt. Now this one is about £200, a very, very popular cycle computer. Now, as you can see straight away, this has a screen. You can display lots of information on that screen. You can customize those screens. It also means that you can have a map and navigation, GPS navigation. So when you go up the price, these are the sort of features you are going to get. So let's scroll down and you can see there's a whole list of features here. So we've got Ant Plus, Lev e-bike integration, Element companion app setup. So there's an app that comes along with this that will allow you to send stuff to and from the device. We've got wireless connection as well. We've got dual band, Ant Plus and Bluetooth technology. So it's got a lot of features, and that's as well as all the ones that I mentioned earlier. So with this, you're going to get everything. You'll be able to measure everything you need, probably much more than you will ever use. It's worth noting as well that you can upload maps to these devices, and they do have SD cards or built-in storage, so you can load an area or a country onto the device, and that way you always have your map. Even when you don't have GPS navigation, you can still see the map. So we're starting to get more advanced. It's more like a sat nav in a car. Pretty awesome bit of kit. So next up we have the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus, which at the time of creating this video, it's probably the most advanced cycle computer you can buy. It is £600 new. £600. That is more than people pay for their bikes. So what do you get for your money? Now, you get a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go into details of everything. Now, you get everything I just mentioned in the Wahoo Element Bolt. So you get that and a lot more. The screen is much bigger. It's a much bigger device, so it's easier to read. You also get a 20-hour battery life. Look through these features. I mean, are you going to use them? Potentially not, as I said at the start of this video. For me personally, I think it's more of a, I want the latest and greatest, so I'm going to get this. One thing I also want to touch upon is turn-by-turn navigation up to a certain point of devices. So the first two I mentioned don't have navigation at all. Now some devices don't have turn-by-turn navigation. Now that's one to look for. Turn-by-turn is literally as it sounds. You're coming up to a right-hand turn, it will notify you need to turn right. Some devices don't do that, so if that's important to you, make sure that the device or the cycle computer you're buying does have that available. Next up, can you use your smartphone instead of a cycle computer? Up to a certain point, your phone will work as a cycle computer. These advanced smartphones that we carry around can't actually do everything we need on the bike. They cannot connect to multiple sensors, they can only connect to a heart rate monitor. You can't display custom data when you are riding. Now on a cycle computer, a more advanced one, such as the Wahoo Element Bolt, you can customize your screens. You can have different screens with different information on, and you can see that as you are riding. On your smartphone, you cannot do that. Durability, an important one. Now cycle computers are designed for all weathers. It doesn't matter if it's rain or shine, this is gonna be good for you. It's gonna survive. You don't want your £1,000 iPhone 11 sat on the front of your bike. And also they're getting vibrated a lot. If you think about when you're on the bike, it's more about the vibrations as you ride. So your phone's going to take a real battering, and they're not designed to do that. One thing to note on that is how you mount your phone to your bike. With these cycle computers, there are mounts specifically designed to integrate with most bikes, nice and securely. It sits nice and neat. With your phone, it's massive. It's too big in my opinion. You don't need something that big when you're riding, and you need specific mounts for that. So that is something that should play into your decision if you're deciding between a cycle computer and your smartphone. Battery life, one that we mentioned earlier, the cycle computers wins hands down on battery life over a smartphone. Now, things I like about smartphone. You don't have to have another device. You've pretty much always got your phone on you. If you're doing a short ride, nice and quick, where the data doesn't matter to you, but you're just trying to log the miles, then a smartphone's actually really good. If you're just commuting, for example, to London, 5 miles, you can just put your smartphone on and just record the ride. you don't actually have to have your smartphone mounted. You can start the ride and just put your phone in your pocket and it will track everything for you. And finally, something all phones do is distract us. When you are riding, it's the same as driving, you want to have your eyes on the road. If you've got things popping up on your phone, your notifications coming through, for me that's a big negative of using your smartphone, and it's actually pretty dangerous. Now, I can't talk about cycle computers without mentioning Ant Plus and Bluetooth connectivity. Some things to know. Ant Plus is the most widely used connection with a cycle computer to your sensors. Now, you can have multiple things connected via Ant Plus to one cycle computer. Now, you can also, using Ant Plus, connect one sensor to multiple devices. So I could connect my speed sensor to 2 cycle computers. Now, we also have Bluetooth, which means that you can connect it to apps like Zwift, because our smartphones, iPads, etc. mainly use Bluetooth for connectivity. So with a good cycle computer, you can have both of those connections be a possibility. So bear that in mind if that's something you are looking for. So the big question, do you, the athlete, need a cycle computer? Let me start by saying you can't improve anything that you don't measure. And with a cycle computer, you can pretty much measure anything. So that is going to help you improve. So if you are looking to improve, looking to push yourself on the bike, then I'm pretty sure a cycle computer will help you in some way, shape or form. So think about where you want to go and how you want to progress on the bike. Think about your goals on the bike. The final thing is real-time data. Now, if you are just started cycling and you use your smartphone, you won't be too fussed about seeing the data. But as you start riding further, you will want to see that data potentially, because you know that you can ride in heart rate zone 2 for 4 hours, for example. So you kind of want to know so you can measure how you're doing and how you're sort of doing on that day. It helps you understand your body. You get used to the data, and from that data, you can act accordingly and ride accordingly. What cycle computer is right for you? Now, first you need to choose your brand: Garmin, Wahoo, Cat-Eye, Brighton, or Magine. There are various brands. Some of the cheaper ones, to be honest, do the exact same job. Have a look at other reviews and see which one you want to go with. Now, Wahoo and Garmin are the 2 main players when it comes to cycle computers. To me, it's tomatoes. It's up to you and your preference. I have used Garmin. I've been very happy with Garmin. I know people who use Wahoo and they love Wahoo. Now, if you want to be able to see all your data nice and clearly, then you're going to need a bigger screen. So buy a bigger cycle computer. Pretty simple. Touchscreen. Now, if you are riding with gloves on, you're not going to be able to operate the GPS, the cycle computer. So if you always have gloves on riding in cold conditions, maybe get one that is button operated. Brands have gone to touchscreen and moved away from touchscreen for this exact reason. Now, if you do not need all the fancy data, do not buy an expensive cycle computer. Buy something that you need. So buy for your needs, not for your wants. Don't spank the money for no reason. Honestly, your bank balance will be much happier, and you probably will be too. Important information inbound. 2 points from using cycle computers. Number 1, do not get lost in the data. The data is not everything. You know your body well. You know how you're feeling. When you are riding, go by how you feel and let the data assist you. Number 2, buy a second-hand cycle computer. You will save a lot of money and get everything you need. So there you go, fine people. That is everything you need to know about cycle computers. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. If you got some good info, give it a thumbs up. And until the next one, self-love and safe riding.